Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 3 NFL game predictions where we're going to be taking a look at all 16 games of the NFL slate this week. We're going to give our breakdown, our analysis, and obviously our prediction of each and every game. We're going to talk about each, a small little recap from last week for each team, just kind of our thoughts on the teams as we speak. We've only got 2 games. We're only 2 games in the season, so still a long season ahead. But we are starting to figure out the identity of a lot of these teams at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings real quick. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. We do college football, NFL, MLB every single week. We also do NBA and college basketball weekly when those seasons start. So if any of that interests you, subscribe, turn on the noties. With that being said, though, I am in first place still. I got a 3-point lead over second place. Matthew, by the way, 14-2 week last week. Pretty good from him. I went 12-4 again. So I went 12-4 both weeks so far, and yeah, I'm in first place. I've won our, this little thing we do all 4 years, and I'm looking to win a 5th year in a row. That would be pretty special if I can pull that off. And I'm already got a 3-game lead, so I'm basically the best. But let's go ahead and look at the Thursday night game here. We got an AFC East matchup here. The Dolphins taking on the Bills. This one's pretty easy for me. The Bills are going to win this game, no questions. I don't think it's really, I don't think it's going to be much of a competition. The Bills are 11.5-point favorites on prime time. The Dolphins always tend to struggle against the Bills anyways, and the Bills are looking like they're at the peak of their powers right now. They're looking like arguably the best team in the league. I would say they're probably my number 1 team in the league at this point. They just beat the Ravens, who I'd say is probably number 2 for me, so I think that's fair to say that they're the best team. The Packers are looking really good, though. I'll give them that. Same thing with the Eagles. But, yeah, the Dolphins always struggle with the Bills. The Dolphins are having player-only meetings. The Dolphins just look like an absolute abysmal team right now at this point. And the Bills are looking like the best team in the league. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Bills pretty easily here. I apologize if my thing disappeared there for a second. But, yeah, I'm going with the Bills pretty easy. Same thing kind of here. Packers-Browns, the Browns just don't look very competitive. Joe Flacco, I don't know if they should be starting him. I think they probably should just give it to Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders at this point. Just, you draft the 2 quarterbacks. I don't know if I would have drafted 2, especially if you're not going to use either of them. Just kind of a weird choice. Quinshon Judkins did look pretty good. Harold Fannin Jr. at tight end for them, the rookie, looks a little exciting. Maybe some promise there, and they still got Myles Garrett doing his thing on the defense, Denzel Ward as well. But the Packers just look like the best defense in the league. I don't think it's arguable to say they're not a top 5 team. They are definitely a top 5 team. Maybe even top 3 at this point. The Packers look ridiculously good. Best defense in the league at this point, in my opinion. I'm going to take the Packers pretty easy there. 2 pretty easy games to start off the slate, but this game, I know we have 4 on the Colts, none on the Titans, but this is a very tough game. 0-2 teams, I feel like always kind of are sneaky week 3. They could potentially get some wins here, especially when it's in division, the 0-2 teams at home. The Titans kind of been starting off the games hot, but not being able to close the games. I don't know. I mean, they play the Broncos close. They almost came back against the Broncos, I believe, actually. The Rams, they were kind of in it for a little bit. I don't know, man. I think the Titans are a solid team. I think you got to give Cam Ward some time. I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans. Maybe I'm just not believing in the Colts. And the Colts have looked really good. But keep in mind, the Saints looked really good for the first 2 weeks of the season last year. They started 2-0, and we know how bad they were. The Colts could maybe do the same thing. I don't know if I'd say that. I think the Colts are a much better team than the Saints were last year. But I think you can compare the teams. I think they're very similar. But Daniel Jones, man, he looks really good. I'm going to take the Titans, though. I think they get the Colts sleeping a little bit. I think Cam Ward goes out there, gets his first win. I think it's an in-division game at home. Could potentially go either way. The Colts are favored by 4.5, I think. I think it's a pretty big spread, yeah. I'm going to take the Titans, though. I think they get an upset win, a little sneaky. I'm fine with going by myself on this one. I think it's a fair pick to say. We got 2 backup quarterbacks going head-to-head. Jake Browning taking on Carson Wentz. Now, I will say J.J. McCarthy looked absolutely abysmal last week against Atlanta. Jake Browning, not not terrible. He did have, I think, 2 or 3 picks. But the Bengals won. They beat the Jaguars at least. Yeah, Jake Browning, 21 of 30 for 32, 241 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Kind of reminding me of Jameis Winston a little bit. I'm honestly not sure what we'll see from Carson Wentz here. Aaron Jones now out with the hamstring injury. They still are without Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson doesn't look great. A lot of question marks for this offense. They also have Darisaw. I don't know if he's going to play, their best O-lineman. I don't know if they have some guys beat up on defense as well. I'm going to take the Bengals also for the reason that Jake Browning was with the Bengals last year. Carson Wentz was not with the Vikings last year, so he's still kind of new in the offense. I think the Bengals get it done, and Jake Browning played most of last week, so I think he'll just have kind of a sense of things going in. Although, you do see sometimes where backup quarterbacks will come in and win their first start just because the team they're playing doesn't have any film to watch on them. So that could potentially happen. I think the Vikings have the better defense in this matchup, but they are dealing with a lot of injuries. And I just trust Jake Browning more just because he's been with the Bengals longer than Carson Wentz has been with the Vikings. But the Vikings could very well win it at home. They just looked so bad last week, it's hard for me to ignore that. I'm going to take the Bengals. Steelers, Patriots, this is a fun one. Definitely could go either way. Another 50-50 game in my eyes. Last week, the Steelers had the big mishap on special teams, which lost them the game against the Seahawks. They lose 31-17. Caleb Johnson looks like an absolute bum. He he touches the kickoff, and then he just lets the ball go into the end zone. It's a live ball anyways because they changed the rules, but the fact that he touched it and just let it go, I don't know what he's doing. So it doesn't look like he's going to get some playing time anytime soon. The Patriots look pretty solid. They beat the Dolphins 33-27, winning kind of a shootout game, and at this point, of the QB class from, I guess, last year, Drake May, at this point in the season, looks like the best QB for this season at least. I know Jane Daniels looked better last year, and I'd probably still rather have him. But at this point in the season, who has looked better, Drake May or Jane Daniels? I think it's fair to say Drake May's looked better. He was 19 for 23 last week with 230 passing yards and a passing touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown. Drake May looks really good. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Drake May. However, I do think Tomlin's a great coach. I know Mike Vrabel is too. The Steelers' defense, I feel like, just has to be, better. They gave up 30-plus points to the Seahawks, 30-plus points to the Jets. That's not a good look when both those offenses don't look all that great. With the Patriots, though, I think they're still dealing with some injuries on defense. Travion Henderson hasn't really done much for them. I think he will. You just got to give him time. I'm going to trust the Steelers' defense to figure it out, but if they don't figure it out by this week, it's probably the last time I'll be giving the Steelers' defense any sort of props whatsoever. I'm just going to trust Mike Tomlin to win these games. Pittsburgh's favored by 1.5. If this was in Pittsburgh, I'd feel a lot better. But the fact that it's in New England, it makes it a little tough just because how good Drake May has looked. I'll give him his props. He has looked very good. Next game, Rams-Eagles. We got an NFC playoff rematch from last year when these two teams took on each other. And that was a great game. The Rams almost came back against Philly in the snow. It was a crazy game. Can the Rams go into Philadelphia once again and get that revenge win over them? We will see. The team looks really good. Stafford's doing his thing. Puka obviously is absolutely amazing right now. Devontae Adams looked really good last week. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum's getting a lot more run here at running back. So the Rams are looking really solid, and obviously they have a very good defense as well, led by Jared Verse and a lot of those younger guys. They look like a formidable team. I think the Rams at this point are got to be the favorite in the NFC West. I think the Rams are always a dangerous team in the playoffs just because how good Stafford is. But the Eagles just won last week when Jalen Hurts threw 100 passing yards, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs who have been in the Super Bowl, the past 8 years it feels like. I think the Eagles go out and win this game. Nobody can stop the tush push, and it's starting to get, it's starting. I was at my breaking point last year, and it's getting really bad. Yeah, I don't know. Do they ban it? I feel like I don't know. The Eagles just run it so much better than everyone else. I feel like that's like good for the Eagles, I guess, but it's really just a boring play. I wouldn't be shocked if it does get banned here in the next couple of years. Maybe we're just once the Phillies or not the Phillies, once the Eagles use it in like a big time spot, it's like 3rd and 3 or something, and they run it 2 times and get a first down to win the game, like something like that, something crazy like that. We'll see. I think it will get banned at some point here. Just a little rant about the tush push, but the Eagles are looking really good. I mean, I was saying this going into the season. I don't think there's any way the Eagles are going to be able to win as many games as they did last year if they run the ball as much as they did. Maybe I'm just wrong because Saquon runs all over the place. Will Shipley's looking pretty solid. Jalen Hurts obviously is running all over the place. They're not even using A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I feel like they're going to have to at some point just because of their schedule being as hard as it is because they did win the Super Bowl, so naturally they're going to have a tough schedule. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is the game that they kind of unwind Jalen Hurts a little and let him throw the ball a bit, but I do think the Eagles win regardless at home. Jets, Buccaneers. This is a fun one. The Buccaneers look actually really, really good. They just beat the Texans on the road Monday night on a last-second touchdown. The Bucs are 2-0. The Jets are 0-2. The Jets' offense took a big step back this past week here, only putting up 10 points against the Bills. The Buccaneers look like a contender, in my opinion. I think they're going to very easily win the NFC South, and I think they could very well win a playoff game, maybe even 2. Baker Mayfield looks like an absolute dog. Emeka Ibuka has 3 touchdowns through 2 games in his NFL career. Mike Evans still, doing his thing. He's however old he is, he's still out there performing. They're going to get Chris Godwin back at some point. They still got Bucky Irving, and that defense is very solid. So I like Tampa at home here to get this win over the Jets. Fields is in concussion protocol. Will he play? Even if he does play, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. They just look like the better team. The Raiders-Commanders, another QB injury. Jaden Daniels, kind of a question mark for this game. If he's not going to be playing, it's going to be Marcus Mariota. Austin Eckler's now out for the season. Terry McLaurin really hasn't done anything this year. Maybe that's just because of the contract stuff in the offseason. He wasn't getting as many practices in as you would like if you're a coach. So maybe that's why the slow start. But Debo, I will say, looks really good. Zach Ertz is getting a lot of run there over at tight end. I don't know. I think the Commanders, without Jaden Daniels, is going to be a very close game. Marcus Mariota, a little revenge game for him there. But, man, the Raiders just did not look good against the Chargers. Geno Smith was just thrown into double coverage, it felt like, every play. He threw for 3 picks. I believe it was 3. Yeah, Brock Bowers was a little... He was played last week, but he looked a little beat up. Genti hasn't done all that much for them yet. Maybe this is the game he kind of breaks out. I think without Jaden Daniels, I think it would be very... If Jaden Daniels is playing, I would pick the Commanders, no question. Without him, I think it's very close. I'm going to go ahead and still take the Commanders here, even without Jaden Daniels. Maybe it's just one of those things where the backup QB comes in and wins the game just because the team doesn't have any film on him. But yeah, I don't know. The Raiders don't look all that great. They're playing teams. They're putting up a fight, I guess. But yeah, I think the Commanders are a really solid team. Pretty clearly, they made the NFC Championship last week, but you know what I mean. I mean, the Commanders are coming off the long rest after losing to the Packers Thursday night. I think they come back with a bounce back win here and get a win over the Raiders with or without Jaden Daniels, but I think it will be very close if it is Mariota under center there. The Falcons-Panthers, an NFC South division matchup. I was talking about 0-2 teams. I feel like sometimes they get a win here week 3. This could be it. It's a division game. The 0-2 teams at home, the Falcons, coming off a dominating win over the Vikings. I think there's just no way I can pick the Panthers right now. Bryce Young just doesn't look as good as he was when he finished the season last year. He looks a little bit flustered. Maybe he'll get back into the rhythm here. I think maybe this could be the game where he kind of gets back into the flow of things, into the swing of things. But I don't know. It's hard for me not to pick the Falcons when They went up against a beat-up Vikings O-line, and the pass rush looked as good as it did. Now they're going up against a beat-up Panthers O-line. I think it's very safe to say that the Falcons' pass rush will be a problem in this game. They just beat the Vikings 22-6. I think the Falcons win this game. I think Bijan's going to have a big day once again. It feels like they just give the ball to him every play. Kyle Pitts, actually, believe it or not, has had a pretty good first 2 weeks of the season, mate. We'll see if he can continue that. They still got Drake London, Darnell Mooney. I don't know if he's actually been playing. I know he was dealing with the injury. Let me know if he's back or not. I'm not sure. Even with or without him, I'm going to take the Falcons, though. They look actually like a pretty competitive team there with Penix. He's looking decent. The Texans, Jaguars. The Texans are coming off a loss against the Buccaneers at the last second. And you got to feel for the Texans, man. They're 0-2. You obviously didn't expect this. You didn't expect the Colts to be as good as they did either. But yeah, the Texans played the Rams on the road, played the Bucs. Those are two of the top tier teams in the NFC, in my opinion. Now they're going on the road to Jacksonville, who a lot of question marks around Brian Thomas. Last week he was just dropping the ball. He looked scared, like to get hit every time he thought he was going to get hit. He would drop the ball. It's really unfortunate because he was my first round pick on my fantasy team this year. So hoping he figures it out. I also have Travis Hunter on my fantasy team, so I would like to see that offense kind of get going. Travis Hunter did play a little bit more on defense this past week, so that's, I guess, something to look at. But I do think the Texans win. I don't think they start 0-3. C.J. Stroud does look a little bit iffy, but they played a 1-point game against the Buccaneers, who is a team that I think is a very good team, like I mentioned earlier. I think the Texans' defense is still one of the best in the league. You got guys like Will Anderson over there, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley. The Texans' defense is very solid. I think the Jaguars are going to have some problems here. Hopefully Brian Thomas can have a good game. I'm praying because I really need him to start showing up for my fantasy team. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Texans here just because of that defense. I think they'll lead the charge enough to get the win over Jacksonville. Moving on, though, to the Broncos and Chargers. The Chargers look like a really good team. In my opinion, they're looking like a top 10 team right now. You look at the defense on paper, it's not all that great, but the coaching just gets those guys ready. I don't know if Khalil Mack's playing in this game, but the Chargers defense looks so good. And you look at the offense, Herbert, it seems, finally has some serviceable weapons on this offense. You look at Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, who finally learned how to catch the ball. Keenan Allen comes back in. They obviously drafted Omarion Hampton. They signed Najee Harris. This offense led by Herbert looks like a really solid offense, and I just mentioned the defense being very good as well. The Broncos coming in. Bo Nix looks a little bit shaky. He's had a little bit of a slow start. You'd obviously expect him to figure it out. They did lose to the Colts. They were going to beat them, but then they got the penalty. The Colts end up kicking the game-winning field goal 15 yards closer than it was before the penalty, and they lose to the Colts by 1 point. I will say, though, the Broncos, Troy Franklin, looks pretty good, man. They obviously are hoping R.J. Harvey takes a step forward for that offense in the coming weeks. I think he will at some point. And obviously, if you're a Chargers fan, you want Omarion Hampton to really blossom. He hasn't done much, but they are giving him a lot of work, so we'll see if he can figure it out, kind of find the end zone. They were trying to get him in there. He got stopped like 3 times on the goal line. Yet again, another one of my fantasy players underperforming. But I do have to take the Chargers here. Like I said, I think they're a top 10 team right now. I really wouldn't be shocked if they do end up winning the AFC West. They're 2-0. The Chiefs are 0-2. And this would help towards it, beating a division team. And I think the Broncos could still sneak into the playoffs here. They were my preseason number 7 seed in the AFC, so I like the Broncos. But I am going to take the Chargers at home here. I like the Chargers just a little bit more. Seahawks versus Saints, man. I would love to say the Saints were, a good team, in all honesty. I feel like football is better when the Saints are good. They were so good for so long when I was growing up when they had Drew Brees. But, yeah, Spencer Rattler leading the charge. The Seahawks defense looked so good against the Steelers offense last week. And the Saints offense, I would say, is worse. So I'm going to take the Seahawks at home. JSN looks absolutely ridiculous. He's getting so many targets, so much involvement in this offense. They still got the two-headed monster with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the backfield. Yeah, this Seahawks team looks pretty solid. The defense looks really good, and I'm expecting the defense to get them this win here against the Saints, who not too impressed with, but we kind of knew they were going to be one of the bottom teams in the league coming into the season. Cowboys-Bears, man, this is a fun one. One of the hardest games to pick. As some of you may know, I am a big Bears fan, unfortunately. So I got to watch the Bears play every week. And last week the Bears play the Detroit Lions, who are coming off a 27-13 loss to the Packers, I believe. The week prior, in Week 1, the offense looked absolutely in shambles after losing Ben Johnson. Clearly that's not the case, because the Lions go ahead and drop 52 whole points on the Bears. They lose this game 52-21 to Detroit. The Cowboys win in an absolute shootout 40-37 against the Giants of all teams. They win in overtime. Brandon Aubrey kicks the game-tying field goal at the end of regulation, kicks the game-winning field goal in overtime. It was a really fun game. Russell Wilson was just airing the ball out to Malik Neighbors. The Cowboys were getting a lot of involvement from really their whole offense. Javonte Williams looks like a really good pickup for them. Did not expect that from him. I didn't know how much juice he had left. The Bears, Rome Odunze looks like he's taken over the wide receiver 1 spot. Colston Loveland just not being utilized. Neither is Luther Burden. I don't know why you take these two guys here round 1, round 2 and not use them. I don't know what that's about. Maybe Ben Johnson's got a plan. Hopefully. They are 0-2, which is a bit disappointing. Caleb still is holding the ball a little too long for my liking. I'd like him to get the ball out. I'd like him to push the ball downfield. It seems like if they're not wide open, he's just running around trying to scramble, throwing the ball away, or trying to make a big play. Sometimes you just got to take what the defense gives you. You got to trust your ability to squeeze the ball into tight windows sometimes, because he definitely has that potential. The Bears do get it at home. It's going to be in Soldier Field on the grass field. We'll see if that plays a factor here. I think this game's going to be very high scoring. But at this point, maybe it's just because I have trauma from watching the Bears so much. I just can't pick the Bears anymore. In all honesty, I picked them Week 1. They blew it against the Vikings. Mind you, they gave up 27 points to J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy last week scored 6 points. The Packers held the Lions to 13 points. The Bears gave up 52. Like I said, I think this game could very well be a shootout, high-scoring game. But I'm going to take Dallas to get the win. If this was in Dallas, I'd say the Cowboys win pretty easily. But it is in Chicago, so we'll see if that helps the Bears at all. I would hope they win this game. I think it's very close, 50-50. But I'm going to take the Cowboys. I just trust, Brandon Aubrey. I mean, that guy's the best kicker in the league, in my opinion. If it comes down to it in a shootout game, which kicker do I trust more to kick the game winner? Brandon Aubrey. He has the stronger leg. Santos can barely kick a 50-yarder. He is pretty accurate. I'll give him that. A little too much time. I just had to rant on the Bears a little bit. Cardinals-Niners, another 50-50 game here. NFC West divisional matchup. Brock Purdy, it doesn't look like he's going to play in this game. I know Kittle's still out as well. CMC is still healthy, which I guess is a big plus if you're a Niners fan. He's obviously always a big injury concern, but he is looking really solid. The Niners, though, last week, they kind of squeaked away a win from the Saints, which, it is the Saints. You'd obviously not want it to be so close, but it was Mac Jones under center. He did not look terrible. 279 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I don't know how excited you can be about Mac Jones if you're a Niners fan. I think the Niners have too many injuries right now. I think the Cardinals are healthy. You'd like to see the Cardinals close out games a little bit better. They almost gave up a massive comeback to Bryce Young and the Panthers of all teams. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I'm going to trust the guys that got on offense over there. James Conner, Marvin Harrison maybe has a big game here. Trey McBride. I think the Cardinals win this game, but it does worry me that they've been struggling to close out these wins. But I just think the Niners have too many injuries right now, and without Brock Purdy. Mac Jones barely beat the Saints. I think the Cardinals are a much better team than the Saints. The Cardinals did beat the Saints earlier this season, so I'll go ahead and take the Cardinals. The Chiefs-Giants, if the Giants look like how they did on offense last week against the Cowboys, then maybe this is going to be an exciting one. The Giants put up 37 points. I never thought I'd be saying that. The Giants were coming in as, in my opinion, preseason, one of the worst offense, bottom 3, bottom 5 kind of tier offense in the league. But Russell Wilson and Malik Neighbors decided to have some fun last week, just chucking the ball deep, and Malik Neighbors was coming down with it. Wan'Dale Robinson as well was getting some some involvement. Cam Scatterby looks like he's taking over the running back starting spot over Tyrone Tracy, which we kind of expected. The Chiefs still dealing with injuries. No Rashee Rice. I don't think Xavier Worthy's playing in this game. Maybe he is. Not too sure about that. Mahomes is kind of having to do a lot of this himself. And it was tough against the Eagles. The Eagles did win the Super Bowl. The Eagles did win the game last week. I'm going to take the Chiefs, though. I don't think I can pick, at this point, the Giants to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs, there's no way they start 0-3, especially when you get the Giants here. This is a good game to kind of get things right here on Sunday night. Why is this a Sunday night game, by the way? Chiefs are favored by 6. Honestly, I thought it'd be closer to 6.5. But it is what it is. The Chiefs are still pretty heavy favorites. I'm going to take them to win. Kind of a weird choice for the Sunday night game, though. I digress. I'm going to take the Chiefs. Lions-Ravens. This is not a weird choice of a primetime game. What a finale to Week 3 here. Lions-Ravens. Ravens actually 5-point favorites at home. It's kind of more than I thought it would be. I do think the Ravens are the better team here. I'm going to pick the Ravens. Spoiler alert. The Ravens beat the Browns 41-17, and Derrick Henry didn't do anything. Mark Andrews didn't do anything. Zay Flowers did have a good game, which is nice. Lamar's obviously doing, very well for himself. The Lions also, though, had a really good game. I was kind of worried after they played the Packers. Their offense didn't look great. I was worried how much losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn really did affect this team. But it looks like they're just fine. It looks like the Packers are just by far and away the best defense in the league, and the Packers are maybe a top 3 team in the league at this point. I would argue, though, that the Ravens are as well a top 3 team, which is why I'm going to pick them in prime time at home. But, man, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions win this game. This is giving me very similar vibes to the Bills-Ravens game we had Week 1 on Sunday night, which if it is anything close to that game, it's going to be a good game, and I think it will be close. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, which kind of makes me want to pick the Lions, but at the end of the day, I think the Ravens are the better team, and they get it at home here. So I'm going to take the Ravens, but obviously a very fun finale to the Week 3 slate. But that is going to do it for the Week 3 NFL picks. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go on there, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We do college football top 25 rankings videos every Tuesday. We do NFL weekly predictions every Wednesday. We do MLB videos every single week talking about, baseball and where it stands and where every team stands. We do NBA videos and college basketball videos when those seasons are going every single week as well. So there's a time in the year, which is coming up very soon, where we're posting 5 times a week. So if there's any time to subscribe to the channel, it is right now. Like I said, please like the video. It helps out a lot. Comment down below what you think about my predictions. Any questions you have. I'd love to get some engagement, engage with you guys down there in the comments. But that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow with an MLB video. We got a lot to talk about there with the playoffs starting very soon. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.